Hey guys, it's Rachel Castile and welcome to Typology Corner. Today I'm doing an overview video on the INFJ type, and I'm going to do it from the perspective of objective personality. I'm going to highlight the standard type and then also the jumper. So our standard INFJ, their savior functions is NI and FE. And then the jumper type is NI and TI, jumping the extroverted feeling, and is a more introverted type, relying on introverted processes to observe and make decisions. And so I'm going to detail in general what the INFJ is and then kind of see how that looks based on what functions are being chosen as saviors and which ones are demons. I'm going to move into a visual just to kind of show you what that looks like. So here's our standard type at the top and then our jumper type down here. So our INFJ that is the standard Myers-Briggs type is making decisions that is based on the tribe, based on the collective, being in tune with people, their emotions, what they value. They are much more in touch with others than in touch with the self to make a decision. Then our jumper type is the opposite. They are more in touch with their personal reasons, knowing their own truths, what reasons make sense for them, and are more guided by that. And yes, they are aware of the tribe, but they will be it'll be much more comfortable for them to make a decision that satisfies the identity first instead of the tribe. So again, as you can see, it's more of a savior introverted sort of space. Then this is kind of ambivert like in a sense. So something they both have in common, they are both INFJs, and INFJs lead with NI, introverted intuition, as the dominant process. The INFJ is a dominant observer. NI is an internal observer process that is focused on pattern recognition, cause and effect, noticing the underlying things at work behind all of the details. So they live more detached from reality, which is the SE, and what's going on around them. And they're more in their imagination and are connecting dots and just seeing things naturally come together. They are in tune with the patterns that kind of become future projections as well, in seeing how things all interconnect. And it starts to paint a picture of a particular future, a particular outcome that emerges from all of the subconscious details that they're absorbing from life, from all the things that they've walked through. Pattern recognition is their strongest gift. And planning, creating future plans and simulating what they want, what they desire. They both have that in common. And the greatest imbalance of the INFJ is the observer imbalance, which is the extroverted sensing at the bottom. They both have them as a demon. And what that kind of looks like is just, again, like I said, it's zoning out on the details, not wanting to directly interact with reality a lot of times. That that in the moment reaction, sort of like being present, is something that is somewhat difficult for them, considering how invested they are in their own imagination, in the future, and planning the future. It can be kind of difficult to be present and to stay in the moment and not want to go back into the planning, go back into the seeing the future, speaking from the future, organizing the future. This is a very future oriented type. That's like the overall kind of picture of the functions. And from there, I'm going to kind of move into just talking about the INFJ. So the INFJ is a type that is really characterized by the mixing of that future process, being very in tune with other people, in tune with the emotions of other people, are very aware of the souls of others in a sense. This is a very in tune kind of type. You're taking that intuition and matching it with feeling, and Even for the jumper type, this is something that's true. Now, when it comes down to what they're making decisions on, that's where you'll start to see the divide between the jumper INFJ and the standard. But that secondary extroverted feeling is strong in both of them. It's an awareness of extroverted feeling things. So they are in tune with other people. They are hearing what the tribe values. They're hearing, they are feeling the emotions of the tribe very strongly. They have an awareness of the emotions of others more than the emotions, their personal emotions. Their inner world is more analytical, which is sometimes INFJs can mistype as thinkers, just because their inner world is very analytical. It's that NI and that TI inner world. And but yeah, so there is the mix of that extroverted feeling and the TI there, where there is a social awareness, and then a more detached, logical inner world, navigating what makes sense to them personally. And yeah, kind of the building blocks internally of their own logic, their own truths, and coming to a place of understanding what is truth to them. That in Ti is more of a independent sort of thinker, of coming to truths on their own through their own like introspection to kind of navigate what is true to them. Um, it's a personal function. Uh, it's kind of it's detached. It doesn't always show up, or maybe isn't communicated that often. But an INFJ definitely has that TI process and goes there often, and kind of you know is thinking through things a lot, um, in their own way. I guess it's not just looking at the tribe's understanding of things. They're kind of deducting. I don't know if that's the right word, but they are reasoning and analyzing within themselves. And so yeah, that's kind of the decision making axis of what it looks like to have that extroverted feeling and introverted thinking working together, that social awareness, and then that internal analyzing on their own. Um, but yeah, just to talk more on NI as a dominant process, um, is a very imaginative process. You can think of the imagination as intuition, whether it's extroverted or introverted. So, in an introverted way, it has the element of being an organizing function. This is a dominant organizing need type of type. The IJs are dominant organizers. And the way that looks like, it's organizing plans, it's organizing things they would do in certain situations. It's like a filing cabinet of plans and refining the will. The will is very attached to NI as well. It's knowing what you want, um, determining a particular future and developing it like an architect, and um, it can be very like humanities oriented, of like wanting to solve problems in the world, or um, yeah, it just whatever it is. It could be like looking within your family and like things you want to change for the next generation within your family, things you want to do differently from the previous generation, or something like that, where you're looking at trajectories and how things affect other things, kind of seeing the connections of the domino effect of kind of, it's like, I think of like sowing seeds and planting seeds and the effect of those seeds, and uprooting certain things and letting something else grow, knowing like that it would change the future outcome of something, changing the landscape of something. NI is thinking like that. It's thinking very long term, doing work in the soil, kind of adjusting the futures of themselves, the futures of their children, the futures of a company they're a part of, the future of a cause, the future of their community, or whatever it is, like whatever has become something that is a heart focus for the INFJ. It has a far future element to it. It could be just where I want to be in 30 years, what type of career I want to have, when would I like to be married, what kind of person would I want to be married to, what kind of person do I want to become, where am I headed. The NI person, the high NI user, is very attuned to the path, the life path, the life direction. And so being in sort of space like that, being in the moment is kind of far removed whenever you're in your head creating plans, seeing how to get there. This also makes them a control type. The IJs are prone to control, and what control looks like can be very different depending on who the person is. But the need for control comes from having a particular desire and will for the future. So there's a sense of wanting situational control, wanting to be able to get to the desired outcome, and looking at all the variables that could affect it, and then kind of negotiating and moving things out of the way to ensure that the end result that they've pictured happens. So that's kind of the gift, and the also where it could be easy to overdo it, because the focus is getting to the end result in whatever way possible, is kind of the tendency of the IJ type. But specifically the NJ, which has that introverted intuition, has that inclination to need the control all the more, because the plan is king to the IJ, to the INFJ. So I'm speaking about the INFJ. This is also applicable to the INTJ, and they'll just use a different tool to get there. So depending on what the decider is matched with that introverted intuition, you start to see how they navigate or how they get there, by mixing it with the decision-making process. But yeah, so that's what that is like. That's what it looks like in the INFJ as a dominant process. They are planning the future. They are in touch with what they want. They are in touch with what they want, and are living from that place dominantly in most moments. And that is creating that SE imbalance, of being kind of checked out in the environment that they're in, that the environment kind of becomes the execution of the plan onto the environment, that it can be easy to miss the new incoming things, taking in new information, new experiences that's unrelated to the plan. It can kind of be, they can be in the zone that it can be kind of like a waste of time, or a distraction, or it's pulling them out of the space that they are most inclined to be in, which is either, focus on the future, or making steps towards that future. So the future plan is always in focus to determine what to do in the moment, I guess. So yeah, that's what that process, leading the ship, having the will. These other functions are serving its dominant need, dominant desire, in a sense. So yeah, so that's just an element to look at, how that that extroverted sensing is a demon. Let's see, but it's also a growth path to incorporate it. The more new stuff that they start to get more in the moment, and they, the more present, the more new incoming things from reality right now starts to inform what kind of plans they want to create. The more they can let in new things, it can start to open up the perspective, or there's more things to consider in designing the plan. The plan could be based on not a lot of criteria, essentially, that they've recognized a pattern, they've come to a conclusion about something, and basically the more SE details in reality is brought in to the plan, it can kind of update it. They can make more connections between more things, and their files can get more wiser, I guess, in a sense. The more they take in, the more their patterns can be a true wisdom on what's going on or something. So Yeah, that's a picture of that. Now I'm going to get into looking back at what it looks like to be a standard type versus a jumper type. And so let's start with the standard. The standard is taking that NI, and a lot of their things is related to making decisions on behalf of people, on behalf of who's around them, and being in tune with people's emotions, being in tune with what people value. And let's see what's like a dominant combination of the two. I would just say like that is what's being considered. That's where they're putting their time. That's it's coloring the NI plans, because them being more in touch with the people around them, and serving the collective, serving the community, being in touch with what's popular and what's going on in the people around them. They're aware of the needs of people. So that's going to start to affect what types of plans they're wanting to develop, and who like who's being served by the plans they're creating. To what cause is it benefiting? Your INFJ is aware of people, and a lot of their things has to do with people, has to do with the advancement of humanity, whether that's their marriage or it's their children, their communities, churches, whatever society groups that they're a part of, their job or whatever. It could be advancing the cause of their career, or whatever it is, like whatever that FE group is. Your INFJ is attuned to something that is related to the people around them, and are developing a deep wisdom to serve and to counsel, in a sense, the people in their life. These two functions going together does create a counseling aspect to them. Types that have these two functions can be good counselors. Yeah, just thinking of putting all of your time into being aware of people, being in tune with people, hearing their needs, feeling where they are. This is a person who is much more aware of others than self-aware. And from all of the patterns that they are picking up as they are just absorbing other people, they're learning a lot about people. They're able to see very deeply into the souls of other people. This intuition, this high knowing, these patterns that start emerging, that it's like subconsciously the INFJ has a sense of knowing about people, a knowing where people are, knowing the real person, knowing they just are perceptive whenever you put these two together as a savior. There is just a knowing on a deep level, that it might be hard for them to articulate how they know the things that they know, but they're in tune emotionally and intuitively. And that focus is external, outside of themselves. So it's going to come natural to this type to make decisions based on the group, because they are very, very in tune with the group. They're going to feel where other people are. They're going to honor that. They're going to value the feedback that they get from people. This is going to be a type that is validation prone, needing validation to get the feedback that they need in order to make decisions that accommodates the tribe, accommodates the people around them. It's going to come natural to them to check in with people in order to proceed. They have that accommodating aspect about them. And as a result of that, in the standard type, you've got TI as more of a demon, because that's their strength is in the opposite process, which is extroverted feeling. So what that can look like, having TI as a demon, again, I like to say this. I want to highlight that the strength of the single observer is double observation. So these are functions that they both, they have access to them, but are choosing one over the other. So the TI is there. They may, spend time and kind of know some aspects of, where they fall on something, but they generally will choose the group over the self. So this one just isn't getting the time. This one over here is the extroverted feeling is more comfortable to, this person will be known for being good to people and accommodating people and hearing what people desire and serving the collective over the self. It will feel a bit uncomfortable, might create some fear in them to like choose the self over the group. They're like, I don't ever do that. And, it feels weird to break away on behalf of my personal understandings, my personal truths, my personal reasons. To choose me over the group is something I don't do that often. It's a demon sort of state for them as a standard INFJ. So they can start sharing their truths, and it can kind of create for them a bit of an uncomfortableness to do that, but it's actually a growth thing for them to take that time to really get in touch with their own personal reasons and their truths, and to start, getting more balance, to being aware of the personal identity, the things that they are grounded in standing on themselves, and not just what the group and the collective and society deems, valuable. It's like, this is my personal truth and I'll stand on this, apart from that. That's definitely a growth path for the standard type, to get more in touch with the identity and to get balance there. So now moving on to the jumper type, we have the opposite sort of preference. Our jumper INFJ is prioritizing their thinking side of themselves over the feeling side, which has them just more in touch with the self. They're more grounded internally. It comes naturally to them to make a decision for the self, and in awareness of the tribe, it's still their go-to to stay true to self. They are very much still aware of the collective values and what other people feel, but that's not where they're putting their time. They are more spending time in their own analytical process of making sense of things for themselves, kind of sifting through information as they consume things and coming down to what is true for them and then analyzing it. They're a much more analytical version of the INFJ. Will spend more time internally, potentially. The animal stack is still another variable that can kind of make this look even different, but in all of their life and navigating relationships and the things that they're involved in, this type is going to be more in touch with where they fall on something, making decisions based on that. So this type might find their own personal path faster in life than the standard. The standard might still be serving a group of people that they value and struggle to kind of assert their own personal truths, where they stand, their beliefs in the midst of people that really matter to them. It's like, it's kind of that sense of like, I've changed, but I don't feel comfortable to share that yet because that might cause a conflict with the people in my life, if that makes sense. That I'm more in tune with staying connected to the collective and, getting feedback and validation and serving them, making sure that everyone else is happy. It's kind of the starting place of the standard INFJ. The jumper INFJ is more comfortable with staying true to their own truths and being guided by that, by their own reasoning, and then kind of, that's guiding what collectives, what groups they do serve. They're starting with more of a balance on the identity and not as balanced on the collective. So the growth is the opposite sort of path for this type, who's starting out more grounded internally, staying true to that, and kind of extracting truths and developing plans based on their own personal understanding, and having a trajectory that is in touch with the self a bit more than a collective group. So growth for them would be to find ways to really serve people and to be in touch with everyone else in that sense, and kind of factor in people and what others value in the midst of knowing the self, and it's just a different kind of person. So really, these saviors kind of point to different giftings. The paths are going to be a bit different. A preference like this is going to kind of look different in the way that they live their life out, and the types of groups they find themselves serving and adding value to will be more grounded in the identity and the personal truths and stuff. And this type is going to have to kind of navigate and make sense of this more, and learn to detach from the group some, so that they can be authentic to the self, I guess, and to know what the self believes. And yeah, that'll be a bit difficult, and but definitely a growth path for them. So what else to add about this? The INFJ. So just, I guess, looking back into just their common things between having SE at the bottom and NI at the top, is to notice that they have SE, and SE is definitely something that would be beneficial for both types to find ways to just be in the moment, find ways to kind of interrupt the plan, interrupt the, how do I say it? How to interrupt that pre-set out plan that keeps them out of the moment, keeps them out of something new entering their life right now. They can kind of be like interpreting SE as an interruption, I guess. It can be annoying of like, hey, you didn't let me know you were coming over. I didn't see that coming. It can, it can be very annoying. I think I've seen when the plan gets changed last minute, when someone throws something in and they weren't expecting it. That can be very startling to an NI-Dom type. But also just notice when that occurs, it does reveal that you're that locked into your dominant process. And let that kind of be an alert to you that like, hey, maybe I should let go of this dominant process. I shouldn't hold on to it this tight. That let it make you aware of how much you potentially are shutting out the day that's happening right now. As you're fixated on next month, today can be annoying, as it interrupts. And just know that growth really comes from living in the moment more for your type. As an ESTP, I have the opposite issue, is living in the moment so much that I'm not headed somewhere that I actually want to be going in. So it's just be aware that other process is actually good for you, to wake up, to realize that you potentially could be shutting out things that could be informing you and updating your file and helping you to see life from a different perspective that's outside of your own will, per se. The NI dominant types have a very strong will, and their perspective of the world, their concepts, their understandings of what's going on around them is king. And the more you let light in, I always call it light because it's the other side of perception. As a perceiver, you're going all in on a certain type of perception. So seeing the other side of the coin can bring balance, to kind of just snap you out of being stuck into the organizing only, the organizing of your future, organizing of what you want, as you gather in new things, it just can add like a breath of fresh air into your life, a bit of more to plan with, but also it'll bring you to a place that you're more present to enjoy things in the moment, that your joy isn't just in the future. You can have joy in the now. And that's kind of, I think, the biggest point to make is just the NI is betting on this thing that's going to happen one day, and getting there is going to be the joy. And yeah, kind of make ways or make time to kind of smell the roses, see and look around you in the now, and see the value of the moment. And yeah, that you have value in the now, and not just in what you're gonna create and what you're gonna do and what you're headed to. Yeah, you have a gift to really see very deeply into people, see very deeply into situations, to see the outcomes of things, and realize that that's a gift. But don't get so caught up in that gift that you can't, that you're so identified by it. I guess you, as you start to kind of detach from it as it being you, it's just a very, very strong gift that you have, but that it can start to serve other people. You can serve other people with the gift of having introverted intuition, but introverted to intuition isn't to, isn't to cause you to not be present in life with your family, with the environment, with where you are right now, that you could be happy with the littlest of things, and enjoying new sensations, trying new food, that whole SE thing. That NI types really can get great joy out of SE related things when they can kind of snap out of being stuck in their future, being stuck in their plan, being stuck in organizing and planning and getting things together. Yeah. So just know that your your inferior function is an invitation to be present, and to kind of see something more, because the more new experiences you take in, the more you see other people's beliefs, see other people's patterns, and absorb things you normally wouldn't have looked at, that you normally wouldn't have relied upon. That exploration, that gathering, you're going to organize even better patterns. So yeah, the inferior process is kind of the way to ultimate growth for the dominant type that you are. So, all right. So that is about it for the INFJ today. If any of these functions are still fuzzy to you, feel free to head over to my channel and go to the cognitive functions playlist that I've got. And I've got all 8 functions in there, and you can click on whichever one you want to learn more about and kind of get a better picture of what that looks like just in its essence. And then you can see how that is kind of manifesting in your type. What else? Also, if you'd like personal coaching or just kind of reassurance on determining what your type is, feel free to go to my website, typologycorner.com. It is in the description at the top, and book a session with me to get more clarity on your type. I also am getting into the Enneagram as well, so that's something I'll be making videos on in the near future. But I do objective personality typing, Enneagram typing, and coaching within those 2 systems as well. And then just life coaching, personal coaching, anything you want to work through or talk through, and you like some personal time with me to kind of look into where you fall on the spectrum of your type, or how to grow, how to improve, get past your blind spots and to grow. Go ahead and book a session with me at typologycorner.com, and I'd be happy to talk with you and just help you kind of move along in your own journey. And what else? So yeah, if this video was of value to you, go and give it a thumbs up. I appreciate the feedback and knowing that it's made a difference in your life. And subscribe for future content. Again, I'm going to continue to roll out more videos on the OP types and the Enneagram, and yeah, just more personal development, understanding yourself sorts of content. And yeah, that's about it. Again, thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Take care.